Balkans. Now there's nothing more Balkan than dealing with land ownership through violence amongst neighbors. What's even more Balkan is when they either don't like the Turks ruling their land or they fight amongst themselves. Welcome to this episode where we tackle the period when the Ottomans lost their grip in the Balkans due to nationalism and the creeping imperial ambitions of other great powers. Ladies and gentlemen, the Balkan Wars from 1912 to 1913. Throughout the years, the Balkan region, populated mostly by Christian and Muslim Southern Slavs, Greeks, Albanians, and many others in this melting pot of diversity, was under Ottoman Turkish rule. As the 19th century transitioned into the 20th century, Europe, as always, was an absolute political fiasco, especially for the Turks or the Ottomans who lost Serbia, Montenegro, Bulgaria, and Greece, largely due to nationalism but also due to intervention from other great European powers. Speaking of the great powers of Europe, all of them had their own interests to fulfill, as seen in the Congress of Berlin in 1878. The weakening Ottoman Empire has led to European powers to devise their plans for their geopolitical ambition, and of course, with numerous tensions rose among the Balkan states, all driven by a desire to reunite their people's homeland. It's obviously going to be a land grab opportunity for the politicians in Berlin. Serbia realized they could not get Bosnia, so they turned to Macedonia instead. Bulgaria persisted in its aim to succeed as the Third Bulgarian Empire, had its sights set on expansion. And of course, Greece, still eyeing Constantinople, dreamed of becoming the next Byzantines. Despite their obvious differences, they all had one thing in common. They really did not like the Ottoman Empire keeping historical regions that were or still are populated by their nationalities. In 1912, given that Ottoman rule was being challenged and was weakening, the Balkan nations, Serbia, Bulgaria, Greece, and Montenegro, decided to form an alliance known as the Balkan League. Their goal was simple, and it goes like this: drive the Ottomans out of the Balkans and liberate their respective native territories. They also had Russian backing in Czech, but of course, each of them had a completely different idea of where the borders should lie. As the Ottomans weakened, partly due to the impending Italian annexation of Libya and the deployment of many talented officers, including Mustafa Kemal, to the region, vulnerabilities in the Balkans' defense began to emerge. The Balkan League, knowing they had the advantage, amassed a combined force of 750,000 men, making them formidable opponents to the Ottoman forces, though many great powers doubted their overwhelming strength given the internal issues, and also on paper, the Turkish population was larger than the entire Balkan nation's population combined. Montenegro pulled the trigger first and declared war on the Ottoman Empire on October 8, 1912. 10 days later, the rest of the Balkan League followed suit. The conflict spread across several fronts, most notably in Thrace, Macedonia, and Albania. The Ottomans struggled, with Thrace quickly overrun by Bulgarian forces who laid siege to Adrianople and eventually approached Constantinople, which funnily enough also made the Russians incredibly worried as they wanted to be the first to capture the capital city. In Macedonia, the Serbs were victorious, especially at the Battle of Kumanovo, which ensured Serbian and Montenegrin connection and, more importantly, allowed them to take control of Skopje and later Bitola. Meanwhile, the Greeks advanced into Macedonia, captured Epirus, and took Thessalonica, much to the Bulgarians' disappointment. Albania, though declaring independence, was caught in the scramble as League forces occupied parts of its territory. The First Balkan War ended in a decisive victory for the Balkan League, resulting in significant territorial gains. On May 30, 1913, the Treaty of London was signed, officially concluding the war under the mediation of the great powers of Europe. The treaty granted the four Balkan states most of Rumelia, or the Ottoman territories west of the Enos Media line. However, Albania was disregarded as an independent state, despite its declaration of sovereignty. Ultimately, European powers intervened to recognize Albania's independence, while Macedonia was divided among the Balkan League members, ignoring the concerns from the internal Macedonian Revolutionary Organization, or IMRO for short, This fueled further unrest as Imro continued its struggle through insurgencies and assassinations, seeking to challenge foreign domination and assert Bulgarian or Slavic Macedonian autonomy. While the Balkan League had driven the Ottomans out of most of the region, their alliance was fragile. The real challenge was not just defeating the Ottomans, it was deciding how to divide the land. Bulgaria, in particular, felt unsatisfied as it had expected nearly all of Macedonia. Tensions grew when Serbia secretly allied with Greece, knowing Bulgarian dissatisfaction. In June 1913, the Bulgarian attacked its former allies, starting the Second Balkan War. To put it bluntly, they lost. Not just because they underestimated Serbian and Greek coordination and had logistic issues, but also because they were fighting on too many fronts at once. Then Romania, which had long disputed southern Dobruja, invaded from the north and pickpocketed, as there were no Bulgarian resistance. Worse, as Bulgaria pulled troops from eastern Thrace, the Ottomans took advantage of the situation and quickly recaptured Adrianople or Edirne. In the end, Bulgaria was defeated and forced to give up territory in the Treaty of Bucharest. So to conclude this episode, the Balkan Wars were an absolute chaotic event driven by the fierce pursuit of national interest in the region. Although the wars were successful in driving the Ottomans out, well, kind of, they would soon lead to a disastrous period marked by even more violence. In fact, this event set the stage for another Balkan War, except it was overshadowed by the Great War, more commonly known as World War I. I hope this video sparks discussion and thank you for watching. Love and peace.